Florida's housing market is at a crossroads. After years of explosive growth that saw prices skyrocket and inventory disappear, the Sunshine State is experiencing something it hasn't seen in a long time: a market correction. But here's what most people don't understand. Not all Florida cities are experiencing the same reality. While Miami and Palm Beach hold relatively steady, other markets across the state are showing signs of significant stress. Rising insurance costs averaging over $15,000 annually, property taxes that reset on new purchases, and inventory that's jumped 29% year over year are creating a perfect storm in specific markets. Today, we're counting down the top 10 Florida cities where the housing market could face the most significant challenges in 2026. We're basing this on real data: inventory levels, price trends, insurance costs, days on market, and local economic factors. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in Florida real estate, this information could save you tens of thousands of dollars. Let's dive in. Number 10. Tallahassee. Tallahassee presents an interesting case in Florida's housing landscape. As the state capital, you'd expect stability, but the reality is more complex. The numbers. The median home price in Tallahassee sits around $285,000, which seems affordable compared to coastal markets. But here's what the data shows. Inventory has been climbing steadily, and homes are sitting on the market longer than they have in years. Days on market have increased to over 60 days in many neighborhoods, compared to the frantic 20-30-day sales we saw in 2022. What's happening? Tallahassee's economy is heavily tied to state government employment and Florida State University. While this provides stability, it also means limited economic diversification. When you combine this with Florida's skyrocketing insurance costs, even in relatively lower-risk Tallahassee, the affordability equation changes dramatically. Buyer looking at a $285,000 home isn't just dealing with a $1,800 mortgage payment. They're adding $1,500 monthly for insurance, $240 for property taxes, and potentially $200, $300 for HOA or CDD fees. That affordable home suddenly costs $3,500 monthly. The outlook. Tallahassee isn't facing a crash, but it is experiencing normalization after pandemic-era gains. Zillow's forecast suggests prices could dip slightly through mid-2026 before stabilizing. For buyers, this represents opportunity. For recent purchasers who bought at the peak, it means patience will be required as the market finds its footing. Number 9. Panama City. Panama City and the surrounding Panhandle region face a unique set of challenges that put pressure on the housing market. The numbers. Median home prices in Panama City hover around $340,000, but the market dynamics tell a deeper story. This area saw intense demand during the pandemic as remote workers discovered its beaches and lower cost of living. That demand is now cooling as return-to-office mandates increase and economic realities set in. The insurance factor. This is where Panama City's challenges intensify. As a coastal community with recent hurricane history, remember Hurricane Michael in 2018? Insurance costs here are among the highest in Florida. Homeowners are seeing annual premiums of $8,000, $12,000, and in some waterfront areas, even higher. According to Florida insurance data, Monroe County, the Keys, has the state's highest costs, but Panama City and surrounding Bay County aren't far behind. When insurers aren't pulling out of the market entirely, they're implementing massive rate increases. The economic picture. Panama City's economy relies heavily on tourism, military presence at Tyndall Air Force Base, and construction. While these provide jobs, income levels struggle to keep pace with housing costs. The median household income is around $52,000, making a $340,000 home with $4,000 plus monthly carrying costs significant stretch for local buyers. What to watch? The market here could see continued pressure through 2026. Inventory is elevated, and homes are taking longer to sell. Sellers who need to move may need to adjust expectations. For buyers, particularly those with flexibility on timing, this could present opportunity, especially if insurance reform efforts gain traction. Number 8. Jacksonville. Jacksonville represents an interesting case because it's been marketed as Florida's affordable alternative to Miami, Tampa, and Orlando. But affordability is relative, and the numbers are telling a different story in 2026. The market snapshot: Jacksonville's median home price reached approximately $375,000 by late 2025, up significantly from pre-pandemic levels. While still lower than South Florida, the rate of appreciation has been dramatic. According to Florida Realtors data and local analyses, inventory has been rising and days on market have extended. Why Jacksonville? Jacksonville has strong fundamentals, a diversified economy with healthcare, logistics, financial services, and a growing tech sector. The problem isn't economic stability. It's that prices rose faster than the local economy could support. The median household income is around $63,000, making housing costs increasingly challenging for first-time buyers and service workers. Insurance costs, while lower than coastal areas, still average $4,000, $5,000 annually. Property taxes on a $375,000 home run about $3,150 without homestead exemption, jumping to over $3,000 even with it. The forecast: Realtor.com's projections suggest Jacksonville could see prices decline 1.4% through 2026. That's not a crash. It's a correction. After 40% plus appreciation over 3 years, a modest pullback brings the market closer to equilibrium. For buyers in Jacksonville, this means more negotiating power and time to make decisions. Multiple offer situations have virtually disappeared. Homes are getting price cuts and sellers are offering concessions. For sellers, it means accurate pricing and patience are essential. What makes this different? Jacksonville isn't facing the catastrophic insurance issues of coastal markets, but it is dealing with market rebalancing after extraordinary growth. The key question for 2026: will job growth and in-migration keep pace with inventory growth? Current data suggests the market will remain balanced with a slight buyer advantage. Number 7. Orlando. Orlando's story is particularly interesting because it's been somewhat insulated compared to other major Florida metros, but that doesn't mean it's immune to challenges. The current state: Orlando's median home price sits around $405,000, and here's what makes it different. Inventory remains tighter than most other Florida markets. According to recent data, Orlando has less housing supply than Tampa, Miami, or Cape Coral, which means it's maintained more of a balanced market when other areas have shifted toward buyers' markets. Days on market in Orlando are lower than most comparable cities. Homes still sell in 40-50 days, rather than 70-80. This is partly due to continued population growth and the region's economic drivers: tourism, conventions, entertainment, and a growing tech and healthcare sector. The challenges: but Orlando faces its own pressures. Insurance costs are climbing even in non-coastal areas, averaging $4,500, $6,000 annually. The area also has significant HOA and CDD fees in newer communities, often $400, $600 monthly, which dramatically impacts affordability. When you buy a $405,000 home in a newer Orlando community, your true monthly cost might look like this: mortgage, 6.5% rate, 10% down, $2,300 insurance, $500 property taxes, $340 HOA, CDD, $500 total, $3,640 plus. That requires roughly $130,000 household income to stay within the 28% debt-to-income guideline. The median household income in Orlando is about $63,000. The 2026 outlook: Zillow's forecast shows Orlando with a modest 1.2% appreciation through mid-2026, the first positive forecast after a year of declining prices. This suggests Orlando might be near the bottom of its correction phase. However, risks remain. If mortgage rates stay elevated and insurance costs continue rising, even Orlando's tighter inventory might not be enough to prevent further softening. The wild card is whether tech companies and remote workers continue viewing Orlando as an attractive destination. For market participants, buyers in Orlando have more leverage than they've had in years, though not as much as in other Florida markets. Sellers need to price competitively and be prepared for inspection negotiations. This isn't a crisis market. It's a normalizing one. Number 6. The Villages. The Villages is one of Florida's most unique housing markets, and it's facing challenges that might surprise many people. Understanding the Villages. This massive active adult community in Central Florida, spanning 3 counties, has been a retirement destination for decades. With a population over 130,000, it's essentially a city unto itself. Home prices here range from $200,000 for older homes to $600,000+ for new construction. Why it's on this list. The Villages experienced extraordinary demand during the pandemic as baby boomers accelerated retirement plans. Prices surged. But now, several factors are creating pressure. First, demographic shifts. The leading edge of the baby boomer wave is now in their late 70s. While demand from younger retirees, 60-70, remains, the pool of buyers is naturally constrained. Second, the carrying cost issue hits retirees particularly hard. Many retirees live on fixed incomes, and when your insurance premium jumps from $2,500 to $5,000 annually, while your Social Security check stays flat, that's a real problem. The financial picture. Monthly fees in the Villages vary significantly, but here's a typical scenario for a $350,000 home. HOA amenity fees, $200, $300 property taxes, $290 with homestead. Insurance, $350, $450 utilities, $250. Total carrying costs, with y'all $90, $1,290 on a fixed income of $4,000, $5,000 monthly. That's a significant burden before you even pay for healthcare, food, and other expenses. Market dynamics. According to forecasts, the Villages could see a slight price dip through 2026. Inventory has been rising as some retirees who purchased during the boom decide to relocate or downsize further. Days on market have extended significantly. The challenge isn't that the Villages lacks appeal. It remains one of Florida's most popular retirement destinations. The challenge is affordability at current price points combined with rising operational costs. Looking ahead, the Villages won't crash, but it's experiencing a normalization after unsustainable growth. For retirees considering a move here, this could present opportunity. For current homeowners, it means realistic pricing if you need to sell. The community's amenities and lifestyle remain attractive. It's the financial equation that's shifted. Number 5. Venice. Venice, part of the North Port Sarasota-Bradenton metro area, exemplifies the challenges facing Southwest Florida's Gulf Coast communities. The situation. Venice's median home price reached approximately $425,000 by late 2025, up dramatically from $250,000 just a few years earlier. This represents a 70% increase in a remarkably short time. That kind of appreciation was never sustainable, and the market is now adjusting. Why Venice is vulnerable. Several factors converge here. First, Venice is a coastal community, which means hurricane risk, and therefore exceptionally high insurance costs. Homeowners in Venice are seeing annual premiums of $7, $10,000, and in waterfront properties, $15,000+ isn't uncommon. Second, Venice's economy is primarily retirement-focused, with limited employment diversity. This means the buyer pool is constrained to retirees and second-home owners, rather than local workers. Third, the flood zone issue. After recent FEMA flood map updates, more properties in Southwest Florida found themselves in high-risk zones, requiring flood insurance on top of homeowners' insurance. That can add another $2,000–$4,000 annually. The numbers. Forecasts suggest Venice, within the Northport Sarasota metro, could see prices decline 4 to 6% through 2026. Some individual neighborhoods might see larger adjustments depending on their specific risk profiles. Current inventory is elevated. Venice has over 7 months of supply in some segments, well into buyer's market territory. Homes are sitting 80–100 days on average, and price cuts are common. The human element. This creates real challenges for recent buyers. Someone who purchased a $425,000 home in Venice in 2023 might now find comparable homes listing for $400,000, and those listings are sitting without offers. If they need to sell due to health issues, family needs, or insurance stress, they're facing difficult choices. Meanwhile, for perspective, buyers, particularly cash buyers who don't need insurance approval, Venice could present opportunities. The lifestyle, beaches, and amenities remain, but at more realistic price points. What to watch? The key variable is insurance. If Florida's insurance market stabilizes or reforms gain traction, Venice could recover faster. If insurance costs continue escalating or carriers continue exiting, the downward pressure intensifies. Number 4. Fort Myers. Fort Myers and the surrounding Lee County area face some of the most significant market challenges in Florida, and the reasons are clear when you look at the data. The rapid rise and correction. Fort Myers median home prices reached approximately $430,000 by mid-2024 before beginning to soften. The market here experienced extreme appreciation during the pandemic. We're talking 80–90% gains in some neighborhoods over 3 years. But Fort Myers also experienced Hurricane Ian in September 2022, which fundamentally changed the insurance landscape. Post-Ian, insurance companies either left Florida entirely, dramatically raised rates, or stopped writing new policies in high-risk coastal areas. The insurance crisis. Fort Myers homeowners are facing annual insurance premiums averaging $8,000, $12,000, with waterfront properties seeing $20,000 plus. Some homeowners have seen their premiums triple in 2 years. And these aren't just policies from Citizens Property Insurance, Florida's insurer of last resort. Even private carriers that remain are charging premium rates. When you're paying $1,000 monthly just for insurance on top of your mortgage, property taxes, and other costs, that $430,000 home becomes unaffordable for many buyers. Market dynamics. Lee County inventory has surged. We're seeing over 8 months of supply in many segments, firmly in buyer's market territory. Days on market have extended to 85–100 days average. Price cuts are standard, and sellers are offering concessions like covering closing costs or buying down rates. According to forecasts, Fort Myers could see prices decline 5 to 7% through mid-2026. That's a significant adjustment, though it's important to note this brings prices closer to where they were in early 2023 rather than representing a crash to pre-pandemic levels. Who this affects? Recent buyers who purchased in 2022–2023 are underwater or close to it once you factor in selling costs. Retirees on fixed incomes are struggling with insurance-driven cost increases. Some are choosing to sell and relocate to less expensive markets. Sellers need to be realistic about current market conditions. The days of multiple offers and over-asking prices are over. Buyers, however, have significant leverage and should thoroughly investigate insurance costs before making offers. The silver lining. For buyers with cash or those who can secure affordable insurance, Fort Myers still offers quality of life advantages. The area has strong medical facilities, good amenities, and desirable weather, hurricane risk aside. The market correction is creating opportunities for those positioned to take advantage. Looking forward, recovery will depend heavily on insurance market stabilization and whether building standards and infrastructure improvements can reduce risk profiles enough to bring carriers back. The fundamentals for demand exist. It's the cost structure that's problematic. Number 3. Punta Gorda. Punta Gorda, located in Charlotte County along Florida's Gulf Coast, is projected to face one of the most significant market adjustments in the state. The peak and the fall. Punta Gorda's median home price reached approximately $445,000 at its peak in 2024. For a smaller market with a median household income around $56,000, these price points represented an extreme disconnect from local economic fundamentals. During the pandemic, Punta Gorda attracted retirees and remote workers seeking waterfront living at prices lower than Naples or Sarasota. This drove explosive demand and price growth. We're talking 90–100% appreciation over 3 years in some neighborhoods. Why Punta Gorda tops? This part of the list, multiple factors converge here. Hurricane risk. Punta Gorda sits directly on Charlotte Harbor, making it extremely vulnerable to storm surge. Hurricane Ian made landfall nearby in 2022, causing billions in damage. Insurance companies haven't forgotten this. Insurance costs. Annual premiums here average $9,000 or $13,000, with waterfront properties seeing $18,000, $25,000. Some homeowners report their annual insurance exceeds their annual property taxes by 3 to 4x. Inventory surge. Charlotte County inventory has exploded, reaching nearly 9 months' supply. That's well into buyer's market territory. Homes sit 90–120 days on average, and price reductions are standard. Demographic constraints. Punta Gorda's buyer pool is primarily retirees. When insurance costs price out retirees on fixed incomes, the buyer pool shrinks dramatically. The forecast suggest Punta Gorda could see prices decline 7–9% through 2026, making it one of Florida's most significant corrections. Some individual properties might see larger declines depending on their risk profile and condition. Real-world impact. A homeowner who paid $445,000 in 2024 might now see comparable homes listing for $410,000, and those listings are sitting without serious interest. If they're paying $100 monthly just for insurance and need to sell, they're facing a difficult situation. Meanwhile, sellers who bought pre-pandemic, before 2020, at $225,000 are still sitting on substantial gains, even at current prices. The pain is concentrated among recent purchasers. The opportunity and the risk. For cash buyers or those with insurance solutions, Punta Gorda could offer value. The area has beautiful waterways, good medical facilities, and quality of life advantages. But anyone considering buying here must thoroughly understand the true carrying costs, not just the purchase price. The risk is that insurance costs continue escalating, or carriers continue exiting, making properties effectively uninsurable at affordable rates. That's not a housing market problem. That's a fundamental challenge to coastal real estate viability. Number 2. Cape Coral. Cape Coral represents one of Florida's most dramatic housing market stories, and not in a good way for recent buyers. The boom. Cape Coral's median home price hit approximately $450,000 at its 2024 peak. This is a city that was built primarily in the 1960s–70s as a planned community with over 400 miles of canals. During the pandemic, it became incredibly popular as an affordable alternative to more expensive Southwest Florida markets. People from higher-cost states saw a $450,000 waterfront home with a boat dock and thought it was a bargain. The problem? The fundamentals didn't support those prices. The reality check. Cape Coral's median household income is approximately $68,000. Using standard affordability metrics, 28% of gross income on housing, that supports a home around $300,000 with today's rates and costs, not $450,000. The perfect storm. Cape Coral faces multiple headwinds. Insurance, Being a canal city with thousands of waterfront properties, insurance costs are extreme. Annual premiums average $8,000 to $10,000 for standard homes and $15,000 to $20,000 plus for waterfront properties. Hurricane Ian significantly impacted this area in 2022, leading to massive insurance rate increases. Flood insurance. Many canal properties require flood insurance on top of homeowners insurance. That's another $2,000 to $5,000 annually, depending on the property's elevation and zone. Special assessments. Cape Coral has ongoing infrastructure needs. Some homeowners have received special assessment bills for road paving, drainage improvements, and utility updates. These can run thousands to tens of thousands of dollars. Market conditions. Cape Coral's inventory has surged to over 10 months' supply in some segments. Days on. Market average 120. Price cuts are standard, with many homes seeing 5 to 10% reductions from initial listing prices. Forecasts suggest Cape Coral could see prices decline 8 to 12% through 2026, making it one of Florida's most significant corrections. Some analysts project even steeper declines if insurance markets don't stabilize. The human cost. This creates real financial stress for recent buyers. Someone who purchased at $450,000 in 2023 with 10% down now owns a home worth perhaps $400,000 or less. After selling costs, they'd likely take a significant loss. Many Cape Coral homeowners are discovering that their monthly costs, mortgage, insurance, taxes, HOA, flood insurance, utilities, exceed $4,000, $5,000. That's unsustainable for many households. Seller challenges. Current sellers face difficult choices. List at a price that reflects today's market and accept a significant loss, or hold on and hope for recovery. Neither is ideal. Some sellers are offering creative incentives, covering a year of insurance, buying down interest rates, or including furniture and boats. But these don't fully address the fundamental affordability challenge. Buyer opportunities. For cash buyers who can self-insure or obtain affordable coverage, Cape Coral could offer value. The waterways, boating access, and lifestyle remain attractive. But buyers must enter with eyes wide open about long-term carrying costs. The concerning question: if insurance becomes prohibitively expensive or unavailable, what happens to property values? That's the risk facing every coastal Florida market. But Cape Coral's concentration of waterfront properties makes it particularly vulnerable. Number 1. Northport. Northport takes the top spot on our list, and when you understand the numbers, you'll see why this Southwest Florida city faces the most significant challenges. The meteoric rise. Northport's median home price reached approximately $420,000 at its peak, up from around $225,000 in 2019. That's nearly a 90% increase in roughly 4 years. For context, Northport's median household income is about $65,000, meaning home prices rose 3 times faster than income growth. What makes Northport number 1? 1. The most extreme overvaluation forecasts suggest Northport could see prices decline 10 to 14% through 2026, making it Florida's steepest projected correction. Some individual neighborhoods might see even larger declines. This reflects the market's recognition that current prices are fundamentally disconnected from local economic reality. 2. Employment and economic constraints. Northport's economy is heavily service-oriented, with limited high-wage employment. Many residents commute to Sarasota or Fort Myers for work. The area lacks the employment diversity of Tampa or Orlando, or the wealthy retiree base of Naples. 3. Insurance catastrophe. As part of the Sarasota Metro and close to the Gulf Coast, Northport faces severe insurance challenges. Hurricane Ian caused significant damage in the area in 2022. Annual insurance premiums averaged $912,000, with some homeowners reporting $15,000 plus for homes that aren't even waterfront. One Northport homeowner reported their insurance jumping from $3,200 in 2021 to $11,400 in 2024, a 246% increase in 3 years. That's an additional $683 monthly expense that didn't exist before. 4. New construction oversupply. Northport saw massive residential construction during the pandemic boom. Builders developed thousands of homes in new communities with HOA and CDD fees. Now that demand has cooled, there's a significant inventory of new homes competing with existing homes, putting downward pressure on all prices. 5. Inventory levels. Northport has over 11 months of housing supply, deep into buyer's market territory. Homes sit an average of 110 to 130 days on market. Multiple price reductions are common, and homes that would have sold in days in 2022 now sit for months. The financial reality. Let's break down what owning a $420,000 home in Northport actually costs monthly. Mortgage, 6.5%, 10% down. $2,400 insurance. $1,000 property taxes. $350 HOA, CDD, newer communities. $400 utilities. $300 maintenance reserve. $200 total, $4,650. To comfortably afford this, you'd need household income around $165,000. The median household income in Northport is $65,000. See the problem. What's happening on the ground? Real estate agents in Northport report that serious buyers are scarce. Showings might result in offers, but those offers often come in 10 to 15% below asking price. Sellers who need to move are accepting these offers because the alternative is sitting on the market for months. Some homeowners are choosing strategic default, walking away from homes where the carrying costs exceed the property's value to them. While foreclosure rates remain historically low statewide, anecdotal reports suggest they're ticking up in markets like Northport. The comparison issue. Buyers looking at Northport can now find similar homes in less risky areas at comparable or lower prices. Why buy in Northport with $10,000 annual insurance when you could buy in Orlando or Jacksonville with $5,000 insurance and stronger job markets? Who gets hurt? The pain is concentrated among 2022-2024 buyers. Someone who purchased at $420,000 with 10% down, $42,000, likely now owns a home worth $370,000, $390,000. After selling costs, 6-7%, they'd walk away with little to nothing or even owe money at closing. Retirees on fixed incomes are also struggling. That $10,000 insurance bill represents 20 to 25% of annual Social Security income for many retirees. Some are making the difficult choice to sell at a loss and relocate to more affordable markets. The opportunity. For the right buyer, Northport could offer value. Someone with cash or access to affordable insurance, looking for a single-family home with a yard, might find opportunity here. The area has improved shopping, restaurants, and amenities compared to a decade ago. But buyers must ask themselves, if climate risk and insurance costs continue worsening, will Northport recover? That's the fundamental question facing every buyer in high-risk coastal Florida markets. Looking at 2027 and beyond, Northport's path forward depends on several variables: insurance market reform and stabilization, continued in-migration to Florida, economic growth and wage, increases climate risk mitigation efforts, infrastructure improvements. If these factors move positively, Northport could find a floor and begin recovering by late 2026 or 2027. If insurance costs continue escalating and climate events increase, further declines are possible. So there you have it. The 10 Florida cities facing the most significant housing market challenges in 2026. The common themes. What connects all these markets? Several patterns emerge. Insurance costs are the dominant factor reshaping Florida real estate. When annual premiums equal or exceed monthly mortgage payments, it fundamentally changes affordability equations. This isn't a temporary issue. Climate risk and insurance availability will remain challenges for years. Rapid appreciation during the pandemic created unsustainable pricing. Markets that saw 70–100% gains over 3 years are now correcting. This isn't a crash, it's a normalization. But that's cold comfort if you bought at the peak. Inventory growth has shifted leverage to buyers after years of sellers' markets. More choices and longer selling times mean buyers can negotiate, inspect thoroughly, and make informed decisions rather than bidding wars. Economic fundamentals matter. Markets where price growth far exceeded income growth are correcting hardest. Markets with diverse economies and good wage growth are showing more resilience. What this means for you. If you're thinking about buying, market conditions favor buyers in most of these markets. Do deep due diligence on insurance costs. Get actual quotes before making offers. Understand total carrying costs, not just purchase price. Don't rush. Inventory is high and rising in most of these markets. Consider markets like Jacksonville or Orlando that have better economic fundamentals. If you're thinking about selling, price realistically based on current comps, not what your neighbor got in 2023. Expect negotiations and inspection requests. Consider offering concessions to attract serious buyers. Understand that if you bought pre-pandemic, you likely still have significant gains. If you bought recently and don't need to sell, waiting might be wise. If you own in these markets, review your insurance annually and shop around. Understand your flood risk and whether your elevation certificate could reduce costs. Consider wind mitigation improvements that might lower premiums. File for homestead exemption if you haven't. That saves $500+ annually on taxes. Build an emergency fund for special assessments or unexpected costs. The bigger picture. Florida's housing market isn't crashing, in the 2008 sense. Lending standards are much stricter. Homeowner equity is historically high, and foreclosure rates remain low. This is a correction and normalization after an unprecedented boom. But make no mistake, the next few years will be challenging for these markets. The combination of elevated interest rates, high insurance costs, and inventory growth creates downward price pressure. For some homeowners, particularly recent buyers, this creates real financial stress. For prospective buyers, it creates opportunity if you can manage the carrying costs. The markets that will recover fastest are those with strong economic fundamentals, diversified employment, and manageable insurance costs. The markets that could struggle longer are coastal communities with extreme insurance costs and limited economic diversity. Final thoughts. The Florida housing market story in 2026 isn't about doom and gloom. It's about market rebalancing after an extreme period. Understanding where the biggest adjustments are happening helps you make informed decisions. Whether you're buying, selling, or holding, focus on the fundamentals. What are the true carrying costs? What's the local employment picture? What are the long-term climate and insurance trends? What's your personal financial situation and goals? Real estate is local, and every situation is unique. These 10 cities face challenges, but that doesn't mean opportunity doesn't exist. It just means you need to approach them with eyes wide open and realistic expectations. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. Share your experiences in these markets in the comments. Are you seeing these trends where you live? And check out our other videos on Florida real estate and housing market analysis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.